let's get straight into it. So we'll start with the East. This is pretty easy. I think the two worst teams clearly in the conference are going to be Brooklyn and Washington. I just have Brooklyn above Washington because I think they're a bit better. I like some of their younger guys they drafted, but not. And hopefully Jordan Poole can have a bounce back year, but they're probably going to trade Kuzma. So I just don't see this team being good. Same thing with Brooklyn, honestly. I like Cam Thomas. I hope Ben Simmons plays better. I like Nick Claxton. I'm probably going to flip some of their veteran role players like Cam Johnson and Doe and Bojan Bogdanovic. So they're probably going to be really bad too. Definitely one of the hot takes I have looking at the rest of this is I have the Knicks at the 1 seed. I think they had the best offseason in the NBA. I think Cat is a match made in heaven with this team. Jalen and Cat are such great offensive players. The 2, 3, and 4 of Mikal, OG, and Josh Hart they're just gonna wreak havoc on the league, and I think they have a really good chance of knocking out the Celtics in the playoffs if anyone does. That being said, I do have the defending champs at the 2 seed. A lot of people, most people, probably have them at 1, and I probably should too, but the only reason I have the Knicks above them, I feel like they're gonna come out really hungry. I'm sure the Celtics are too because they were disrespected in the offseason. I think Porzingis is gonna miss some time, which is gonna hurt them, and I don't know what Al Horford's gonna look like at age, 37, 38 years old. So maybe they're gonna struggle a bit in the front court, but that being said, they're very well coached and they're a great team. This is where the rest of the list gets kind of difficult. I think Detroit is going to be better than last year. I think they won 14 games. Hopefully they can win like at least 25. I think that'd be a great step in the right direction for them. And I also think the Bulls are going to be pretty bad this year. They lost DeRozan. If I were them, I would look to be trading like Vucevic and even potentially Lonzo if you could get some good value for him. I like some of their younger guys. I like Kobe White. I like Ayu Dosunmu. I love the modest Buzelis pick this offseason. And just outside the play-in tournament, I think I have the Toronto Raptors. I think the Raptors are a very smart organization. They know that they probably won't do much with this roster. I do like the quote-unquote big three of Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, and Scotty Barnes. I don't think their organization is just going to let them get them in the play-in and make the draft pick worse because I have a feeling they're going to want to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes as well. At the 10th seed, I have the Hornets. Now, this may be a bit shocking because historically, over the past however many years, the Hornets have not been that great, but I really do like this roster. I think LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller have a really good chance of being a dynamic duo in this league. I think they both have all-star potential. We've already seen LaMelo make an all-star game. I think if he stays healthy, he can get back to that, and maybe Brandon Miller could take a big second-year leap. And then you look at some of the complementary pieces. Honestly, I like Josh Green for them, a good hustle guy. Hopefully a good 3-and-D player for them. Say what you want to about him off the court, but I like the fit of Miles Bridges on this team as a lob threat for LaMelo. And hopefully Mark Williams can stay healthy. I think he's a young big with some good upside. I think that they'll sneak into the play and surprise a lot of people. At number 9, I have the Hawks. Of course, they did lose DeJounte. Some people are thinking that their roster is going to be affected by the less is more theory. Take away a ball-dominant guy, and then you have Trae Young just the hub for the offense the whole time. I really like Jalen Johnson. I think he's going to have a monster year. That's my MIP pick. Andre Hunter, Bogdanovic, Clint Capella, these are all like really quality role players. But if I were Atlanta, I would look to maybe get some more assets for them. Hell, even guys like Dyson Daniels and their first overall pick, obviously Zachary Richards are. I really like their potential fit next to Trae if they can, consistently knock down their shots and play good on the defensive end. But of course, I don't think that they'll go far. I think this is just gonna be another mid-year for them. And I don't really know where they go as a franchise from here. There's potential Trae gets traded, but I want to spice things up. I'm gonna say that the Magic are gonna be the 3 seed and that the Cavs are gonna be the 4 seed. I think both those teams are really great defensively. I think they're really well coached. I think Paolo is going to take another leap. I think Franz is going to be better. He's going to shoot better from the field. And I really like the KCP pickup. I think Jalen Suggs wants to really get that bag, so I think he's going to play even better. So I can see this team being really scary and surprising a lot of people. Same thing with the Cavs, honestly. I really like Evan Mobley. I really like Jared Allen as a front court. Hopefully Evan Mobley can continue to develop. There's still questions about their fit together as the front court as there is in the back court with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, both being sort of ball-dominant guards who aren't the biggest, kind of like a Dame CJ McCollum kind of thing again. I think they're going to be a good team. They have more quality role players like Max Strus, Karis LeVert, etc. I like Kenny Atkinson a lot, so I think they'll be good. At the 5th seed, I have the Bucks. I really think Giannis is going to come out this season and have maybe his best season yet. I feel like he's thinking he's been disrespected by some people. I'm sure he wants to remind people that, hey, I can be the best player in the league too. It's not just Jokic or Luka or whatever. They haven't gotten out of the first round the last 2 seasons, and I also think Dame is going to be better. I think last year was a quick turnaround for Dame to join them, so hopefully they can mesh better. But the reason I have them this low, just the injuries to Chris Middleton always scare me. I think he's a hell of a player, but it's just, that's kind of scary. And Brook Lopez is really old. He did not look as good as he did 2 years ago last season, and he might just continue to regress with age. So that's why I have them that low. At the 6th seed, I have the Pacers. If they can, lock in on the defensive side as much as they do the offensive side, they'll be a lot higher up on this list. They're a super, super deep team. But I think they're gonna have to make some tough decisions soon. They made their Eastern Conference Finals run last year without having Benedict Mathurin, and if you look at the roster, they're just super deep, and they're probably gonna have to make some moves soon. But I do think that teams are just not gonna be able to keep up with them. I think Tyrese Halliburton is about to have another monster year. He might average 12, 13 assists this year, honestly. And I think their young players are gonna continue to develop, and you have another year Pascal gelling and meshing with your other players on the roster. The 7th seed, I have the 76ers. I love Paul George, I love Maxey, I love Embiid, right? I think that's a great big three. The sad part is, the NBA is injuries. Joel Embiid already said he doesn't want to play the second game of back-to-backs, and PG, his health has been up in question since he got hurt a couple years ago, and he's 33, 34 years old now? I think they're gonna miss a lot of time. I think Max is gonna have a monster season. I think Drummond can hold it down. I really like that pickup for them. I think Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre continue to do their thing. They're good quality role players. I'm not saying that they're the 7th best team, because if they're healthy in the playoffs, I think they could really make a run. Regular season wise, I think it'd be close. Last year, I think in the East, the 4, 5, and 6 seed all had the same record, but tiebreakers and whatnot. I think it's gonna be another similar situation this year. I think the only clear top tier teams in the conference are the Knicks and the Celtics. That being said, at the 8th seed, of course, I have the Miami Heat. I think they're going to be a good, solid team. Harry Rozier is going to gel better with the team. Jimmy was injured for a good amount last season, so, that obviously hurt them. I think Bam Adebayo is going to stretch the floor a lot more. He's going to be shooting a lot more three-pointers, so that can help their offense out some more. Going back to Jimmy, his contract's up at the season, if I'm not mistaken, so he's going to want to get a big payday. Again, I can see Miami going on a run, but I just think that every team above them just has a lot more talent. This is my list for the Eastern Conference, and now that we go over to the Western Conference, I think the easiest pick here is OKC at the 1 seed. They were the 1 seed last year, and they just got better. They got top tier role players in Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. And if they play as good as they did last season, they will be the 1 seed, even if some guys miss time due to injury. I don't think they're going to slow down anytime soon. I think in the 2 seed, I'm going to go with Dallas. I'm going to be optimistic that Clay can hit his three-pointers. If he can, at a really good clip, he's going to get tons of open looks because of the spacing. Luka and Kyrie are going to clear up. I think they have good role players. Quentin Grimes really like Najee Marshall. You do lose Derrick Jones Jr., your best point of attack defender, but hopefully Grimes and Najee Marshall and even Clay to a certain extent can kind of make up some of that. I think Derek Lively's just going to continue to improve. He was amazing as a rookie. I mean, there's a reason they made the finals last year. I think they're a really great team. At the 3 seed, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I probably would have had them at the 2 seed if they kept Cat, but they didn't. Dante DiVincenzo, he's a great player. He's going to get a big payday when his contract is up. And they also acquired Julius Randle, of course. Even though he didn't play last season, you got to remember this guy is still a really good player. He made a couple All-NBA teams during his time in New York, averaging about 25 points and 10 rebounds and a couple assists too. Sometimes he could just not be a good fit because he's not the best shot taker. He's not the best decision maker. But if he could buy in defensively, which I'm sure he can because you got guys like Ant, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert there, they're going to be a formidable defensive team, and I think Julius Randle could really help them out. At the 4 seed, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. With Ja coming back, that's going to really help them. Defensively, having Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson Jr., I think they're going to complement Ja really well. I think Ja is going to continue to be better. Desmond Bane had a really great season last season. If G.G. Jackson can continue to develop as a player and contribute to winning basketball, this team could be really, really scary. I do like some of their role players like Vince Williams Jr. and Scottie Pippen Jr. I think this team's going to really bounce back and surprise some people and remind people why they were the 2 seed just a couple seasons ago. At the 5th seed, I do have the Denver Nuggets. Listen, I know this is low, and in the playoff series, it's hard for me to bet against Denver because they have the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. But losing KCP is going to be a big problem for them. The only reason they're this low is because their depth is not good, at least for right now. I think guys like Christian Braun and Julian Strother, I think they're really going to have to knock down that three-point shot consistently and help out on the defensive end a ton. You know, as long as they keep that core Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, and Jokic, they're going to be formidable to other teams and be a nightmare. But at the 6th seed, I'm going to say the Kings, Keon Ellis, and Keegan Murray, who I think is a pretty underrated defender. I think he's really, really solid. And if Sabonis can be better on the interior, I think this team can really make some noise in the West. I do like the DeMar DeRozan pickup. I think that really helps them closing out games because he's one of the best clutch players in all of basketball. Offensively, they're going to be good, so I do think they have enough to really submit themselves as a upper echelon team in the Western Conference. At the 7th seed, I have the Phoenix Suns. For being a second apron team and not having much wiggle room in the offseason, they did the best that they could. And their biggest concern last year was that lack of point guard. D-Book was running point guard a lot for them. So getting a guy like Tyus Jones, who I think has like the best assist to turnover ratio in the league like last year, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's really going to open up their offense. Defense is the only question for me, especially on the interior. At the 8th seed, I have the Pelicans. But the only reason I have them this low is because I think Brandon Ingram is on his way out. The other reason I have them this low is the lack of center. I think they just came out and said Herb Jones is going to be running some 5 for them. So that's, kind of scary. Like, Herb is an out of this world defender, but he's really a wing. I think they have so much firepower on offense, and at least on the perimeter, they're going to be a really good defensive team. But if they had a better 5, I think they would be a bit higher up on this list. The 9th seed, I have the Lakers. I'm getting sick of, the whole Lakers playing thing because we're going to have to hear about them all year, especially, having LeBron, having AD, and especially now having LeBron's son and Bronny. But when I look at this team, I think JJ Redick, especially offensively, is going to be a better coach for them. I think there's going to be a lot more three-point shots. AD looks like he's going to be shooting a lot more threes, so maybe that can open up their offense some more. And the reason I have them this low is because of the lack of depth. So at the 10th seed, I'm going to have the Houston Rockets. Ime Udoka is one of the best coaches in the league, and I think their young players are going to continue to develop, but I just don't think that this is the year that they have that OKC kind of jump. At the 11th seed, I have the Spurs. The offseason acquisition of Chris Paul is just really, really crucial to his development and the overall team's development. I think Wemby is going to potentially be an all-NBA first team kind of guy this year, and in Depoy talks. I think this team could really give teams a run for their money on a nightly basis, but I just don't think that they're deep enough to really make some real noise. At the 12th seed, this might be a bit surprising to some people. I have the Golden State Warriors. But I just don't think that Steph is going to be able to really thrive and compete on a nightly basis with this team. At the 13th seed, I have the Clippers. The reason I have them this low, yes, they lost Paul George, and they still have a good competent roster of role players around Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. But that's the problem, Kawhi Leonard. But he just can't stay healthy. It's just hard for me to count on him to be healthy over the course of the season and really carry this team in this stacked Western Conference. And these last 2 spots don't really matter. Utah and Portland. Both these teams kind of in a similar situation. They have good players, they have good young players, good young cores, but they shouldn't be trying to win right now.